Hey everybody, this is Miss Mika with Keep Cotton County Beautiful. Hope y'all are having a great day today. We're going to talk a little bit more about recycling, and Miss Greta gave you all kinds of really neat facts about all kinds of different things that you can recycle. So I know she mentioned that you could recycle aluminum and paper and cardboard and plastics and glass, and she talked a little bit about a MRF, and then you got to see like a virtual field trip of a MRF, a materials recovery facility. So now we're going to actually start taking each one of those things and kind of breaking it down and talking about each one a little bit separately. Okay, so today we're going to talk about recycling plastics. So it's important to know that the word that Miss Greta mentioned in the last video, recyclable. Okay, so the suffix able at the end of a word means able to. So if something is recyclable, it is able to be recycled. Okay, so all of those things that she talked about in the video are things that are able to be recycled. So we also have just recycled. So if something is just recycled, that's got the suffix ed on it, past tense. That means it has already been through the recycling process and it has been made into something new. That's the difference between reduce, reuse, recycle. Reduce, we've talked about, means to make less waste. Reuse means to use it for another purpose, but recycle means to make it into something totally new, okay? So how do you know if something has already been recycled and it has been made into something new? First of all, we have the recycle symbol right here. It is a triangle made out of chasing arrows. Now there is no like set standard for how a recycling symbol should look. So you may see one that has black arrows, you may see one that has blue arrows, you may have one that is green arrows. There's even one that's shaped like a circle that has one arrow going down and one arrow coming up into each other. They kind of fall into each other. And then sometimes it'll just say you can recycle this item. Okay, like if you go to Bojangles and get food, the fast food bag that it comes in says that you can recycle this bag. Okay, and it'll also say that it has been recycled. So that bag was made from other paper that had been recycled. Okay, so recyclable means you look for this recycle symbol, or you look for the one that's a circle that has the two arrows coming into each other, or you look for the words, this product can be recycled. But to know whether it has already been through the recycling process, you'll look for this symbol right here. It is the chasing triangle, or the triangle with chasing arrows. I'll get my words right here in a minute. It's the triangle with the chasing arrows that has a circle around it. That circle means it has already been through the process and has been completed and made into a new item. So really, when you go shopping, you want to look for this symbol and you want to try to buy items that have already been through the recycling process. That means that they did not take new material to make that. They used material that had already been gathered, okay? So like if it was recycled paper, that means that they didn't cut down any new trees to make that product, okay? So now we're going to talk about plastic, and this is going to help a whole lot with plastic, all right? So when we talk about plastic, we're talking about a wide range of materials, okay? There are like 45 families of plastic. And inside of each of those families, there's hundreds and if not thousands of different variations, okay? So you think about in your classroom, each of you belong to a different family, right? So within your family, you have different people. You have mommies and daddies and brothers and sisters and cousins and aunts and uncles and grandmothers and grandfathers, and some of you may have great grandmothers and great grandfathers. So each one of those would be like all those different variations within that one family. So to help make that make a little bit more sense to us, because even though there's 45 different families, they're all still plastic, okay? So to help us understand that a little bit better, let's think about our favorite cake, okay? There's all kinds of different cakes out there, but there are some special things that make a cake, okay? So we're not going to talk about ice cream cakes, and we're not going to talk about cookie cakes because they're a little different. We're actually going to talk about real deal cakes, okay? And not cheesecakes either, okay? We're going to talk about real deal cakes, all right? So I'm going to share with you my favorite cake, my husband's favorite cake, and my daughter's favorite cake. And we're going to see how that they're all still cake, but they're all still different, because it's exactly the way plastic is. Plastic has certain things that make it plastic, but there's going to be things that are going to be different about each type of plastic, okay? All right, so my favorite cake is a peanut butter cake. I absolutely love peanut butter cake. Okay, so the basic recipe for my peanut butter cake, and I'm just going off the top of my head, okay? So it takes like 1.5 cups of flour, 1/2 cup of sugar. I put milk and oil in it and butter, and then I put peanut butter in it. Okay, and then mine has a frosting on it, and the frosting is made out of peanut butter, powdered sugar, and milk. All right, so that's my cake in a nutshell. Oh, and I put eggs in it too. Eggs. All right, I think mine takes 2 eggs. Okay, my husband's favorite cake is a caramel pound cake, also known as a heart attack in a pan. He only gets it once a year because it's super bad for you. His cake takes 5 eggs, 3 cups of sugar, 1 dark brown, 1 light brown, and 1 white. It takes 3 cups of flour. It has oil in it, and then when it's cooked, you put a glaze over it that has brown sugar and milk and vanilla in it. That's his cake, okay? My daughter's favorite cake is a chocolate chip pound cake. So hers is a chocolate cake mix that has sour cream and 3 eggs and pudding mix and chocolate chips and oil and water in it, okay? And then we bake it. No frosting or glaze on her cake, okay? So there are some things that make all 3 of those cakes the same, okay? Mine had flour, my husband's had flour, my daughter's had flour because hers was in a cake mix, and the cake mix already has flour in it. So that's one thing, a cake has to have flour. Cakes also have to have eggs. Mine took 2, my husband's took 5, my daughter's took 3. So they all had eggs, but they had a different amount of eggs. That's going to be really important here in just a minute, okay? All right, so another thing that's in common is that cakes have to have sugar in them to be sweet, right? So some may take 1/2 cup. My husband's took 3 cups, oh my goodness. And the cake mix has sugar in it already. Sometimes when I take and make a cake, sometimes I add extra sugar into it. So all of that, your cake has to have sugar because cakes are sweet, right? Then cakes have to have a combination of wet ingredients, like they have oil and water or milk or butter, and it may be all of those. It may be a combination of those. You may have just oil and water, you may have milk and water, you may have butter and oil, you know, just whatever that cake calls for. But those are the basic things that make a cake a cake. Well, it's the same thing with plastic, okay? Plastic has to have certain things for it to be plastic. Okay, it has to have certain elements. So plastic is really made from oil, from the ground, like crude oil. Okay, so to get oil, we have to drill down into the earth and pump it up. Okay, so actually we can make a lot of pollution. It can get into the water. The pumping of it and stuff creates air pollution. It can get on the land, and it can spill out. Like there's a lot of oil pockets along the oceans, and the oil can spill out into the oceans. And you may have heard about oil spills in the ocean and how it's detrimental and harmful to the animals, and a lot of them die from it. So it can cause a lot of pollution to pump out that oil. That's why it's so important for us to recycle plastic, to keep us from pumping out more oil, that crude oil, than what we need. So that's a big part of plastic, okay? So plastic is the big part of it is oil. So, you know, think about it. Every time you drink out of a water bottle, you're drinking out of something that's been made out of oil. It's kind of weird, isn't it? That's why, you know, a lot of people are trying to get away from using a lot of plastic because it's really kind of not that good for us. But plastic is so handy because plastic is so versatile. That means that we can use plastic for so many different things. And you think about all the things that you buy at the store, nearly everything comes in plastic. You can get water in plastic, and it'll store and it'll keep for a long time. That's one of the reasons why companies package things in plastic, is because it'll last a long time. it keeps things from molding so that they are preserved longer. So that's another thing, another reason. A lot of times it keeps your items from breaking. So that's another reason why they package things in plastic, is to keep it safe and keep it from breaking. So there's all those different things, but you have to keep in mind that plastic is made from crude oil, okay? So that's why it's so important for you to recycle as much of this plastic as you can, okay? So another thing is that we have the oil, but we also use hydrogen and oxygen and carbon atoms, and those come in different amounts, and they can come in different combinations, and that's how you get all these different plastics. Okay, so that's like the basic things. Now sometimes you may add in more things, like my daughter's cake had chocolate chips in it and mine had peanut butter in it. So those are things that doesn't really make a cake. So there's going to be things that they put into the plastic that doesn't necessarily make it a plastic, but it makes it more versatile to hold whatever product it is they're trying to hold, or to preserve some product that they're supposed to preserve or whatever. So they'll put that extra thing in to help that plastic, okay? So I told you that there's 45 different types of plastic, but we're going to talk about really just 7, okay? Because that is how they mark plastics on the bottom for recycling purposes, okay? So first of all, how do I even know what type they're going to be? What is this going to be? So you find a plastic bottle and you look at the very bottom of it, turn it over and look at the very bottom of it, or look around the edges of it, and you're going to find that recycle symbol, okay? Then within that recycle symbol, you're going to find a number. You might see the number 1, or you're going to see the number 2, or you'll see 3, 4, 5, 6, or 7, okay? So the 2 that's really important for us here in our county are 1s and 2s, okay? And that is what most of the stuff in your house is a 1 or a 2. That's your water bottles, that's your soda bottles, that's your 2 liters, that's your detergent bottles, that's your cleaning bottles, that's the containers that your mustard and mayonnaise and ketchup come in. That's any kind of produce that you get from the store is going to be a 1, I think it is. So about 85% of the plastic that's in your house is going to be a 1 or a 2. Okay, so you just have to remember that number. You have to remember 1 or 2. But really, a number 1 is called PET or PET. Okay, it's polyethylene terephthalate. Aren't you glad you just have to remember it's a number 1? Okay, but that is your soft drinks, your water, your juice, your sports drinks, oils that you cook in, salad dressing, peanut butter, mustard, mayonnaise, ketchup, even the cleaners that you spray, like if you buy Clorox or 409 or anything like that, your shampoo bottles, your lotion bottles, your conditioner bottles, most of that stuff are all 1s. And that means that in our county, we can recycle those. You can take those to the convenience center that we all like to call the dump, and you can put it in that blue trailer. There's one side that says aluminum and there's one side that says plastic, or you can always take them to Myers Diversified and drop them off there, or you can take them to Newport Recycling Center, which is across the road from Newport Utilities behind the gas station there. You can drop them off there too. So there's lots of different places that you can take your plastic so it can be recycled, okay? And it'll be made into a new plastic. All right, so the other one that's really important is a number 2. That is your high density polyethylene. Aren't you glad that you just have to remember 2? So that is your milk jugs, your cider jugs, your water jugs, your detergent jugs, your fabric softeners, your bleach, all of that stuff is a number 2. Okay, so all of those can be recycled here in our county as well. Now the next ones I'm going to mention are not recyclable in our county, and I'm not sure that Myers Diversified even take them. I'm sure if you did drop them off, he would find some way to recycle them because he really does try hard to do that. But there's not much of a market for these other guys to be recycled around here. So why is that? For an item to be recyclable, somebody had to sit around and figure out and say, hey, I can take this water bottle and I can shred it into pieces and I can make a new water bottle out of it. I can make a reusable water bottle. Could even make some clothing out of it. So you guys who like to wear Under Armour and Nike and all that stuff has plastic in it. You're wearing plastic. Is that not cool? So somebody had to sit around and say, hey, I can take this item and I can make something new out of it. So there's not been much ideas for the 3 through 7 where people actually are buying these products that are made from these if we recycle these other numbers, okay? So we're just going to talk about them really quick. A number 3 is a V or a PVC, which is vinyl or polyvinyl chloride. That is like your piping that brings the water into your house. So there's not anywhere around here that recycles those things. A lot of times we try to reuse as much of that as we can. A number 4 is LDPE. That's your low density polyethylene. These guys are recyclable, but you don't take them to the convenience center. You could take them to Myers Diversified if you wanted to, but you know where you take these guys to? You take them back to the grocery store because that's your grocery bags. Your grocery bags are a number 4, and the wrapping around your paper towels and the wrapping around your toilet paper and the wrapping that comes around diapers, any kind of flexible bag, a plastic bag that you can take and you can pull it and you can tear it, or it'll stretch before it tears is what I mean. It'll stretch before it tears. That's a number 4, and you can take it back to the grocery store. You can take it to both food cities. You can take it to Walmart. You can take it to Lowe's. Right now, some of the stores are not taking it because of COVID, but as soon as all that's passed, hopefully they'll start back on that. But that is what you do with those. You take them back to the grocery store and they'll make them into new grocery bags, or they'll make them into reusable grocery bags. And that's even better, to take your own reusable grocery bags. That way you're not using so much of those grocery bags, because you know what, actually we find a lot of those when we're doing litter pickup. The next one is number 5. That is PP, polypropylene. And we do actually have these in our homes because they are our drinking straws, our yogurt cups, our margarine and butter cups, and your Cool Whip cups. Those are all number 5s. So they can't be recycled around here. But a lot of people will reuse them because a lot of people, my family included, like to put their leftover food in them. I joke and say that's my redneck Tupperware. But anyways, you can reuse those guys instead of throwing them away. So that is a good option for those since they can't be recycled, okay? The next one is number 6. That's PS, polystyrene. We do use this stuff a lot, but there's no place to recycle it. This is like packaging peanuts, the meat trays and egg cartons, drinking cups like you get at Bojangles, the puffy kind that you can bite into. That's your styrofoam, okay? And actually your plastic spoons and forks and stuff are polystyrene. They're styrofoam, but they're just not the puffy kind, okay? And then we have 7. 7 is other. 7 is a hodgepodge of all this other stuff. It doesn't really fit into those other categories. And so because it's all kinds of different things, it's not usually recyclable. So if you have a piece of plastic and you don't see the recycle symbol on it and you don't see a 7 inside of it, it probably is a 7. They just didn't put the recycle symbol because there's not many places that will take these 7s. In some of the bigger cities, they will take them, their microwave packages and chip bags and like your plastic toys and stuff. They'll take those, but around here, there's nobody who does that. So what can you do with your plastic toys and stuff? You can take those and drop them off at a ministry or a thrift store somewhere so that they can be reused, and you can keep that stuff out of a landfill for sure, okay? So I hope you see that we have all kinds of things in our home that we can be recycling, and it's very important because it's stuff that's made out of oil, keeps us from digging into the ground, but it also saves space in a landfill, and that's an important thing because we've told about in other videos that when we take our trash to a landfill, our county has to pay for that. So if we are not taking those things to a landfill, we're saving our county money. Plus, we're saving space in the landfill, and we're doing something good for the earth. So I hope that if you don't recycle, that maybe you could pick one thing. Maybe you guys drink a lot of bottled water, and you can just start saving your water bottles and taking them to the convenience center or to Myers Diversified or Newport Recycling Center or wherever, and you can recycle those. Okay, if you use a lot of 2 liters, maybe you might want to recycle those. You might want to recycle just your milk jug. Start small and then work bigger and start adding in more things that you can recycle. Okay, so we can help save space in the landfill and save our resources. Okay, so we will have an activity for you guys to do next week with recycling. We're going to have you go on a hunt through either your classroom or your house, whatever your teacher says. And you're going to look for plastics, and you're going to look for all the different kinds of plastics. We will give you a little activity sheet that you can fill out, make you some tally marks, and keep up with how many 1s you find and how many 2s you find and how many 3s you find. And then you can take that and make a cool graph out of it, and you can see how much you have in your house and see which one you have the most of, and you can do some kind of math activity with it. Maybe come up with some questions that you can give to your friends, and they can answer questions based on the graph that you've made. Okay, so we will see you guys next time. We will talk more about recycling. We hope you have a good day, and we'll see you later. Bye.